As we've been telling you for the last couple of weeks, our program on Tuesdays now is brought to us by the Saddleback Memorial Foundation. And we've asked Victoria to hang around for a few minutes today and talk with us a little bit more about that relationship that exists between the hospital and this community. It's a special one. I think a lot of our newer residents may not know this, but the original land was actually donated by Golden Rain. It was going to be a hospital. Ross Cortese was going to build a hospital. And Medicare came in and he said, I'm not going to fight with the government over that. But the hospital, the land was donated, but then the hospital has been built up. Can you give us some of the history and background about what went on in the construction and the
Absolutely.
process?
You know, first of all, I want to say I've been in the position now almost 8 years that is funded through our foundation,
right.
My position, and we'll talk a little bit.
So you don't work for PCM, you work for the hospital.
Right, and a lot of people don't realize that, even though it's a very unique relationship that I am a guest in the social service department here in Laguna Woods Village.
Right.
So it's a very unique relationship, to say the least. But basically, when Laguna Woods Village was in the beginning, okay, which you know what year that was, I'm sure. I don't.
Late 60s.
The late 60s, okay.
Actually, early 60s, yeah.
You know, it was a lot of orange trees and fields and, you know, so on and so forth. And they didn't have any health facility nearby. And so basically, the residents started collecting money. They must have had, you know, a sort of unofficial group of people that started knocking on doors, asking for donations, and people literally went door to door and raised money. And initially, from my understanding, Rob, is they had a clinic that they built in the parking lot of Saddleback Hospital, what is now the parking lot.
Well, the clinic actually was part of the original program for Mr. Cortese, and I'm told this community started in about 1964, was the first move-ins here to Laguna Woods Village. But the clinic was part of the program, and eventually it was going to be a hospital, and then when Medicare came along, they decided not to. Then that clinic was actually, over the years, is now the parking lot. It was taken down once the hospital was constructed. There wasn't a need for that, so yeah.
And I always like saying, you know, for people that may not know, but, you know, the residents of Laguna Woods Village built our hospital. And so there is a very close bond there. You know, the foundation, you know, is so grateful to all the philanthropic donations that have come to Saddleback Memorial Medical Center. And a lot of people don't realize that Saddleback is a non-for-profit hospital. You know, we are a state-of-the-art facility with highly skilled staff and technology. In fact, a couple years ago, we went with an electronic medical record, which is, of course, you know, was a huge cost and an investment, and you know that's.
They're talking about that in Washington. I know the president said that's one of the goals of his administration is to have all of our medical records electronically handled, which will be great, especially if you're someplace else, something happens, they can call that up instantaneously off a computer and find out what they need to find out about you.
Right.
Let's talk about the foundation, because as you mentioned, the hospital is not for profit. But if somebody goes in there, obviously they pay for the services, but even what they pay or what their insurance company pays, the hospital has costs always above that. So the foundation steps in and helps to raise additional funds for special projects, special equipment, or just to keep the hospital operational.
Right, and so many people don't even know that we have a foundation. And so this is very important because we really, we're proud to invest in the health of our community. We want to continue to improve services and technology. And again, you know, my position is a perfect example. I am a nurse practitioner. I make house calls. I do a lot of educational seminars. You know, I mean, I have lots of different things that I do to try to help our seniors here who really need help. And, you know, I've got a lot of stories to tell, but Saddleback's foundation is the one that supports this position.
You know, what it is really a payback. They're paying back the community, thanking the community through your service for the good support that this community has given. Of course, if you look at the names on the roster of the Pink Lady groups, the people who work in the gift shop, the volunteers, certainly those on the foundation, many of those names are folks that live right here in this community. And really our residents consider it their hospital. When I first started working here in 1970, you had to go down to South Laguna or Tustin with the nearest, or you know, Hogue down in Newport Beach, were the only hospitals nearby.
Right.
So Mission Hospital was actually built after Saddleback. So Saddleback's been here a little bit longer, but it's very much a part of our community. Our residents literally consider it theirs.
Right.
And I know there's lots of ways people can get involved as volunteers, as well as with the foundation in contributions. There's ways you can invest your stocks. There's a way you can get into annuity programs. A lot of ways people can get involved helping the hospital continue to be successful.
Right, and I'd like to at least, you know, make a comment about Mr. and Mrs. Michael John, God rest their souls.
Yes,
because thanks to their philanthropic donations to our foundation, we were able to build our new Michael John Critical Care Pavilion and Emergency Department, which is just beautiful and state-of-the-art, and has really made, again, the hospital that much better for our seniors and for the community at large to, unfortunately, if you know, they have to come over because they have an illness or some type of you know, trauma type of thing.
And again, it serves our residents here and the surrounding community as well. Of course, this used to be an island back in the 60s. There was nothing around us. Now this whole area is built up. So really Saddleback serves not just our residents, but the surrounding community. You know, delivers babies and deals with all kinds of medical issues, in addition to our senior population here in Laguna Woods Village. You know, a lot of folks might not know about how they can get involved. They can get involved by contacting the associates, which is really the support group of the community, residents and those in the business community that support the hospital. And the number for that one is 452-3724. They can call that number, or they can volunteer. And they can volunteer by calling 452-3728. But there's lots of ways you can get involved. As a physical volunteer, like we mentioned, the Pink Ladies, they can get involved with financial support and a variety of ways they can get involved.
Right.
And of course, when they see you, they can thank you, but they can also thank the hospital for providing you to help our community out. Yeah. And we won't get into the specifics, but we've got this hot weather right now. Many times you've gone into a resident's home and said, this person needs to get some help right away, and you've saved some lives that way. So it's been important.
Yes. You know, in fact, thanks for bringing that up. It's hot out there, so make sure you stay in a cool place. If you can stay indoors with the air conditioner on, drink lots of water. That's a big one. Even if you are outside, avoid being in direct sunlight because then the extra, you know, heat from the sun. But it's all about staying cool and avoiding, you know, being someplace that's just too hot.
You mentioned, you know, with your previous guest, also exercising in an indoor air-conditioned environment under supervision is certainly a lot safer than maybe out in the hot sun. Victoria, we're out of time. Thank you for hanging around and being with us today. We appreciate your time, and we appreciate the good service you provide to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, and I want to thank Saddleback's Foundation.
Great. Thanks for joining us today. We'll be back with you folks tomorrow.